For physician Su Chien-ming, life changed in an instant. A traffic accident caused him to lose not just his sight, but also his ability to practice medicine, and the blessing to marry his girlfriend from his in-laws. It was a dark time for Su. Eventually, he found the motivation to help others, both through his psychiatric counseling and by organizing activities for other blind. Now he and his wife hope to take that mission a step further through opening a nursing home specifically for people with vision loss. Let's hear from Su and others on his inspiring transformation.
In New Taipei's Zhonghe district, a rehearsal is underway. All the performers are blind. Backstage, physician Su Chien-ming, one of the concert's organizers, is getting ready for his own performance. He will be singing 2 songs at the concert. Su hopes that the event will bring some light into the lives of others who, like him, are blind. In January 1989, Su was discharged from mandatory military service. After graduating from Kaohsiung Medical University and passing the exams to be a doctor in the public medical system, he was ready to practice general internal medicine. However, those plans were thrown into chaos by a traffic accident.
I
was on my scooter and passed by an area where they were doing road work. There was a forklift carrying steel plates, and I crashed into the plates at eye level. After the accident, I developed meningitis, which nearly killed me.
After the accident, Su found himself hospitalized for nearly 2 months and was on the verge of death. The situation left Su's mother concerned about his future, and a dark cloud hung over him for some time.
What left the deepest impression on me from back then was this one time when my mother was massaging my throat for me. Halfway through, she got choked up. I said, "What's wrong?" We were in my room, and across the hallway there was a picture of me from the days of my bachelor's program. She said, "Your eyes were so big then, and now they've shrunk."
Despite his life-changing accident, Su's wife, who was his girlfriend at the time, says Su never became very emotional. She says he was more cool-headed than others.
What's special is that he doesn't have many mood swings. The only exception was the year of the accident. When he went home for the Lunar New Year holiday, he was quite downtrodden. I think he is a very rational person. Because of this rationality, he tends to bury things inside.
I thought to myself, what will I do when I need to head out on my own? How will I handle my everyday life? My food, clothing, housing, and activity. I'll never see anything ever again. How can I live with that? I was actually asking myself these things, not just rhetorically.
After losing his vision, Su was unable to proceed with plans to start his medical career, as there were no positions available that blind people could do. When he failed to register with his assigned hospital for a vacancy, his qualifications were cancelled by the examination office, and he was listed as having failed to report without reason. Besides his career difficulties, his girlfriend's parents started to object to their relationship, saying they worried about their daughter's future. Facing such challenges in both his career and his relationship, Su had to carve a new path for himself.
After the accident, there were lots of people giving him advice, and he started to engage with lots of religious ideas. He chose the path that was the most rational to him, and he had a much easier time after getting into Buddhism. He started thinking about the purpose of life.
After many years of petitioning the examination authority, Su was finally able to get back his qualifications. 8 years after his accident, he finally donned a long coat once again and began practicing as a clinical psychiatrist. In 2001, Su accepted an interview in which he talked about the ebb he experienced following his accident.
During those 8 years, I had gone from being an internal medicine physician to becoming nothing, to having nothing, and then I slowly started over.
In his works, Su demonstrates that blindness doesn't impact his profession. Rather, he says it makes him a better physician. Many of his patients say that although Su is blind, he sees with his heart. They express being able to more easily shed their inhibitions with him, which lets them recover sooner.
明明看不见，是他好像看那个心理的状态看得比我们眼睛看得到的还看得更清楚。
He obviously can't see with his eyes, but he seems able to see a person's mental state in a way that others can't, and he sees it more clearly. Depression can be a mess, and it's like a dark cloud overhead or like duckweeds that cover an entire lake. But Dr. Su seems able to push the duckweeds out of the way and find a small yellow flower hidden among them.
Su recalls one patient he worked with, using his keen hearing and mental focus to help her get to the root of her troubles.
She talked about her relationship with her father, which was fraught with problems. She was rubbing her hands together, so I asked her why. She said one hand was a fist and the other was grasping it. I told her to imagine that the two hands were engaged in conversation and asked what they would say to each other. She thought about it, and a few moments later she said, "The open hand is my father, and I am the fist. Holding them together like this is me saying I wish my father would show some concern for me."
The discovery that despite his blindness he could help patients like this served as a form of self-affirmation for Su.
我说有一个人扶着的话，就
I walked home with him, and this helped him to walk more quickly and more easily. As someone who experiences depression, I have thought of myself as being useless, but in that moment, I felt like I could be somewhat useful.
Through his work with patients, Su found a glimmer of hope. However, he still had some challenges to overcome. He and his wife, Zhonghe, who was his junior classmate during his school years, eventually married after knowing each other for 27 years. But getting there meant first overcoming objections from her family.
主要的因素还当然是家人啊。
Of course, my family was the main factor. They were definitely worried, especially since that was just after his accident and he didn't have a job. That was something my family was unable to accept.
The two also had their own things to work out.
过程当中，我们也是康荡一段时间。
We had a cooling off period, and we both went off to work on our issues. I thought it was important for him to learn to prepare his own meals. I felt that would give him a more solid grounding and better peace of mind.
Su and his wife started out needing each other, but strengthened their bond through learning to appreciate each other. Both the ups and downs of their relationship have contributed to the lasting marriage.
我拿不到了。好了。
这个这么沉吗？还是装的？
Their only child, a daughter, grew up surrounded by love.
来，走吧。大哥，嘿，来。
After he finishes his work for the day, Su heads off to engage in another of his life's pursuits. In a classroom in the city, Su leads other blind people in recitations and discussions of Buddhist scriptures. Su took over leading the group after it was established in 2015.
因为当时是我们的师父呢。
Our Buddhist teacher at the time told us he had spoken with Su more than 20 years ago about holding seminars with other blind people to discuss a text on the path to enlightenment. Since Su had already studied the text previously, he thought he would be very suitable, and that he already had strong feelings about the material. Our teacher hoped that Su could take what he had learned and pass it on to others.
The process of studying ancient texts involves listening to audio files and then discussing the content as a group. In their efforts to understand the scriptures and apply the teachings to their own lives, for the group members, Su is a good example to follow.
在生活当中遇到真正的困难的时候，
When we encounter difficulties in our lives, for example, in our relationships, in our work, or in dealing with our emotions or with the death of someone close to us, we sometimes forget to apply what we learn. We read these books, but then we go home and we forget to use what we learn. However, Dr. Su has lots of experience, and he discusses that experience with us and passes it on.
Su and his wife have a vision for the future. They discovered that the typical nursing home in Taiwan is not designed to help people with vision loss, and hope to create their own nursing home that caters to this segment of the population.
Our thinking at the time was that everyone would live together and help each other, and volunteer workers could live there too. In building the facility, we would design it around the needs of blind people. Of course, if we find a plot of land, it will be easier to build something.
For Su, finding ways to care for more people and to make life better for them is a non-stop pursuit. To this end, he established a choir and orchestra comprised of blind performers.
Lots of people in our seminar asked what changed for me after I learned about Buddhism. I told them that the order of what I pursue will change, with more priority given to benefiting others and some personal enjoyments getting moved to the back burner. It's about changing the patterns of life. I think the best gift this accident has given me is to start thinking seriously about the meaning and value of life. When I'm on my deathbed, I'll look back and won't have any regrets. I'll feel like I've lived a fulfilling life.
Su's life changed in an instant following his traffic accident, but through persistence and ambition, he demonstrated that blindness need not be a limiting factor. Now Su is making life better for others with vision loss, one seminar and one concert at a time.